Hello and welcome back to another episode of Havvy Got News for You. Today we're joined by Coach Dave Legrice and Assistant Manager Mark Murison. Thanks for joining me, boys.
No problem.
Hi, George.
So we'll get straight into it then. We'll start with you, Dave. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you played football before and how you've ended up at Haverfordwest.
Well, that's probably what you would describe as a social player. not the greatest of standards, but I played in Premiership League for Saundersfoot and Kilgetty. Like I say, more of a social get together and like that. But no, I did win the Morden Little League penalty shootout under nines when I lived back in London. So that's probably the highlight. So yeah. But that's about me. But yeah, with getting involved, it was the boys. My son's got asked to come over for a trial with the academy, and then Mason, the youngest one, then he was going into the under sevens, and I had a chat with Harry Thomas. He was leading the pre-academy at the time, and said that I'd do a bit of coaching. So if he wanted a hand, and then the following week I was chucked into it, and I've been in the academy ever since, really.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so non-league football really in England. Sort of played about nearly 15 years in the end. Non-league sort of ended up being the standard that I was sort of quite comfortable with. Sort of played any sort of level or all levels really of non-league at some point in that 15 years from sort of step 5 down. As I got older, I went lower, yeah, sort of a variety of clubs. So that was great. Some great memories, some great sort of periods of my career there. And then how I came to Haverfordwest was just purely that I completely had a complete turnaround in what we wanted for our life. Really, I've got 2 young girls. We were living just outside London in Kent. And I just wanted a better upbringing for them. Really, we loved Pembrokeshire anyway. We were outdoor people, sort of kayaking and sort of rock climbing, that type of thing. So when the opportunity came, we sort of just did it. We came up here, looked at a few houses, and came up. And then since then, I emailed the club just to say my qualifications and what I'd done. And David Hughes rang me back, and I had a call with Steve Batty as well, and it's just gone from there really. So yeah, got in through that way through the academy and progressed.
So this is something I ask everyone. Mark, we'll start with you. What's your favourite football memory? So this can be as a player at Haverfordwest or even as a fan.
I'll probably be. I know a lot of people have been doing the old greedy as 2, so I'll probably try 2. I think as a fan, it would definitely be. I'm a Tottenham fan, so there's not many great moments in in my life since supporting them. But the semi-final against Ajax for me was probably the emotions that came out was, I can't remember since like I was a kid. Like you're an adult, full-grown adult, you shouldn't be acting like that when you score a last-minute winner. But all the emotions came out. So as a fan, I think definitely for that. As a player, I think it was actually coming back from a really serious injury, and the emotion I felt of actually not only getting back out on the pitch, but competing at a decent level after sort of nearly 2 years out. In 2005, I was trying to do football and athletics. I was doing pretty well in athletics. My coach was preparing me to try to run at trials for the 2006 Commonwealths. So I was sort of training really hard, and I was trying to do football at the same time. And unfortunately, my body gave out. I did ligaments in my knee. My knee I had to sort of sort of restructured really, because my knee had twisted, and it took 18 months before I could fully come back. And I remember just the first game, I was at Chatham at the time, and we was playing Corinthian Casuals, who quite a famous club, Corinthians, for their connections with Corinthians in Brazil. So they always get quite a big fan base, and on this specific day, all I wanted to do was just show up and see how it went. First game in nearly 2 years, and there was quite a lot of media fanfare there. Steve Sidwell had just signed for Chelsea, and his brother Lee was playing for Corinthians, so he was there, which caused massive stuff. And then Jimmy Hill was there because he was like a big part of Corinthians. And it just sort of, the pressure was building on me. And then not only that, but they decided to play me in midfield, and I'd never played midfield in my life. And just to go out there, play the game, get through the game without no injuries. And there was a mad moment where I'd thought I'd done my own little bit of messy, sort of picking up the ball in the midfield. And when I've played striker or winger, essentially they've been my two positions. You know, you beat a person, maybe 1v1, and that's it. You know, but I beat this person in the midfield. Suddenly there was another one, and before I knew it, I'd beat three or four, not through skill. I think just like it just happened. And then next minute I was in on goal and I slotted the ball past the keeper and thought, well, this is going to be a fantastic. But unfortunately, one of the guys cleared it off the line, so not quite. It was a 0-0. But just to get through that, I think for me, the emotions after the game, I didn't really show it to players, but actually when I was driving home, that just felt massive to me because it was a long, long haul. I'd had many ups and downs where I had to have my knee had ballooned back up and stuff like that. So that for me was a massive moment for me.
Dave, what about you? What's your favourite football memory?
I don't have to follow that really. As a fan, I used to be a Wimbledon supporter. That's where I'm from. So I remember my parents taking me to watch Wimbledon v Man United in the FA Cup. I can't remember the year, but it was when Cantona teed himself up for that volley, and I was right in line with him. And although I was a Wimbledon supporter, that was probably quite special to see that right in front of you happen, But probably just it's my boys. That's what I get the enjoyment out, is watching the boys play. You know, when Josh got called up to the first team the other week, that was quite proud. You know, he was on the bench there, and when I think it was the Bala game, was it, that Matty went down and got injured, and Josh come out and started warming up. There was a few thoughts going. I was proud, but a few other thoughts going through my head at the time. But no, just seeing like Mason, the youngest, he's signed for Swansea now, so just things like that. And Dan, he played up when I was coaching in Sinclair's last year. He was playing up a year, and he probably was the best player for me, to be fair. I know I'm his dad and I just say that, but just watching the boys play and watch them doing really well, that's like my highlights, to be fair.
Let's get a little bit more specific now then. Let's talk about your kind of match day routine. For a home game then, Mark, do you have any superstitions? What kind of goes through your mind on the morning of game day?
Not so much superstitions now. Now I'm in sort of management. As a player, I was bad with superstitions, but for sort of management, no, not really. But I do make sure that I'm always normally about at least 45 minutes to an hour before, say, the players' meet time. I just think for me that's my time to, for example, set up my part of the technical part of the warm up, or get everything in order, because what I want to do is be ready for when the players come in to chat to them, just see how they are, just make sure their head's right for the game, speak to Wolsey and the rest of the coaching team, just make sure we're set, and we can do the last key messages that we've already run through in training. But I think in the morning of a game, I'm sort of no use to anyone really. My wife knows that the morning of the game there's no point, because my full focus is on the football, and that's it really. I don't really have a set routine, but I just make sure I get to the ground early, set up the warm up, make sure everything's ready in the changing rooms and stuff like that, and then once 1 o'clock hits, or 1:15, and everyone's there, it's into sort of normality. Then you just tunnel vision in what you want to achieve on that day.
You mentioned a little bit there about superstitions you had as a player. Do you want to delve into them a little bit? Any interesting ones?
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's about interesting. I just had different weird ones, like obviously having to put on, like, say, left sock and left boot before right boot, or right sock, them type of thing. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. If I was scoring regularly, I would not clean my boots, even though it'd get me fines. Still pretty much like that now, really. But I would refuse to clean my boots, unless obviously they were really bad, obviously, and it was going to provide a bad connection to the ball. But essentially, that was just something I didn't do. I thought, if I'm scoring every game or scoring regularly, I'm not going to clean my boots, and I would keep them boots until they were literally dead to the world. These players that will go through different boots every week, no chance. I would have a boot. Sometimes I'd tape it up if I had to, like, just to keep that boot, because I was so adamant that was helping me play well, or that was helping me score. Just little bits like that really. But I'd probably, if I had to think back, I probably had a number of little things that just all added up to those little superstitions. And if I didn't do it right, then it would play on my mind really.
Dave, what about you? What's your kind of match day routine like?
I get quite nervous, if I'm honest, before. So it depends on the time of the kickoff. Like on Saturday, it was a late one, so I went out for a walk before, stuff like that. So I like to go out, get a bit of fresh air before. I'm lucky. Wolsey gives me a lift every week, so he just lives by me. So we have a bit of a chat on the car going down and stuff like that. But no, I just get out, have a bit of a walk, try and keep myself busy, have a shower just before, then make sure we've got the right kit on and stuff like that. Otherwise, you get fined. But superstitions wise, nothing that I do every week. But if say, because like I'll do the initial warm up on a match day. So like we won Saturday, so I'll do exactly the same the following week or the next game, and I'll just keep that going, and okay, until we lose or draw or something like that. But if we win, I'll do exactly the same pre-match warm up for the boys and stuff like that, just to try and keep it the same. But no, that's the only weird thing probably.
You both talked a little bit about what you do on match days there, but let's delve a little bit into your roles in general. Dave, you've recently become a strength and conditioning coach. What does that role entail, and especially kind of over lockdown? Obviously, you didn't get as much contact with the players that you'd like. How do you kind of maintain the fitness of the players over that period?
It was tricky. Trying to get footballers just to go running is not, it's not an easy thing. At the end of the day, that's what they want to do is kick a football, which is understandable. But in the lockdown, we were setting like three runs a week, trying to hit everything. And to be fair, the majority of the boys were quite good. Some had to have a bit more encouragement than others, and so, can I do this one today? Can I do this tomorrow? But at the end of the day, it was a hard time for everybody. So trying to get them out and on the road, especially running on the roads, because like a lot of pitches were closed and stuff like that as well. Tracks. Some of them go around tracks and that. So that was tricky. But no, I think the Strava and the watches got a bit of a hammer in. So yeah. So like at the minute, I'm qualified level 3 personal trainer. So about a month ago now, I signed up for my level 4, which will mean I'll be qualified strength and conditioning coach then. And so that's going to really, the stuff that I've learned so far in the course is really going to help going forward for the boys. Trying to reduce the injuries and stuff like that is going to be really good. So no, that's what I do on there.
I know, Mark, that you have more than one role at the moment, but let's focus on your role as assistant manager.
Yep.
How does that role work, and how do you support Wolvesy as manager, and kind of how much input do you have into certain decisions?
Yeah, I think I mean, where do I start with that? Absolutely, yeah. Have a lot of input in regards to decisions. Me and Wolsey speak all the time, as well as the rest of the coaching team, to come to a sort of mutual agreement in regards to either whether it be how we're going to approach a game or personnel for those games, and how we're going to organise the training sessions. So yeah, have massive input in that. And I think, as I said to Wolsey when I first come into the role, I think an assistant manager's role, it isn't for me to come in and say, right, this is what my philosophy or what I think. It's about giving my opinion, of course, in all of those situations, but then trying to come to a conclusion with Wolsey where he wants to go forward with it. And then once we've decided on that, then my job is to ensure that I'm creating training sessions in training to sort of expose the players to what we want to achieve in the game, so that they're going through those type of challenges that they're going to have when they face, say, the TNSs and the Connors Key, so that it's not alien to them when they're out on the pitch. And that really, I think, in a nutshell, is my role, is to offer advice and support around where I think we're going well or not. But once the decision's made by Wolsey and the rest of the coaching team, then my job's to support the training element, to make sure that we're ready for these games and to perform at the highest level we can. I do a lot of work with the players on individual basis, unit basis. I do the analysis, so I send them, clips of their performances and what they can do better, and that's really what my role is, to do that.
So, kind of casting your mind back to last season, then obviously it ended abruptly, but eventually we were awarded promotion. How did it feel to gain promotion? Dave, we'll start with you.
Um, yeah, it was great. Last year, I only come in beginning of this season, so I think I actually joined the team, which would have been the third game, but it was actually the second game, Newtown, I think, at home. Um, so I was more following it as a fan last year. Went to all the home games and quite a lot of the away games and that. So I probably got a different perspective than the players and the other coaches and that, because it was more of a fan. So it was really good, just to get the news that they've gone up. And I think, to be fair, I think they probably would have edged it at the end. With the games that the running they had left compared to Swansea Uni. I mean, you can't guarantee that because it's a funny old game, isn't it? But but yeah, I mean, with on paper, then I think we would have gone up anyway. But it was really good when the news come through, broke through. Yeah, it was really good.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, it was mixed feelings, if I'm honest with you. I think we worked really hard all year to obviously the aim was to win the league. That's what we set out to do to get promoted, but obviously we wanted to do it by winning the league. Um, and as Dave said, to be honest, I think the confidence in the camp was that, look, in the last 5 games we had a maybe more favourable games. Yes, you got to go out and win them, but we felt confident we could. And then it was whether Swansea slipped up, they may not have done. But I think just having that opportunity taken away from you was gutting. But obviously, then to get the notification that we have been promoted, it was a happy time. But again, we couldn't really sort of celebrate it. We had a Zoom and we said, well done to everyone, and we all sort of patted ourselves on the back that we'd done what the job was, which was to get Haverfordwest back into the Cymru Premier. But it just felt a bit deflated in that sense. So it was definitely mixed feelings. But in the short term, it was obviously not as great as we wanted it to be. But in the long term, the aim was to get into the Cymru Premier. So it was an amazing achievement, and obviously we've seen the benefits of it, moving forward now and what it's going to do in the long term for the club. So it was fantastic. We just couldn't celebrate like you normally would when you have that type of achievement, if you like.
So we're all part of quite an ambitious project at the moment. Everyone now knows who Rob Edwards is. But for you, Mark, being the assistant manager, what was it like? How did you feel when you first heard that we had a new chairman coming in that was taking the club and trying to take the club forward? And kind of how did pre-season progress and your relationship with Rob, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it was a difficult one because obviously change is always for anyone slightly not scary, I suppose is the wrong word, but you just don't know what it is. You don't know this person. You don't know what they're gonna want to achieve. Now, obviously, you're hoping they're going to come in and they want to achieve success, but how do they want to achieve that success is probably the thing that you're asking. I've been around the block quite a lot with football, and I've seen some really good chairmen, but I've seen some really bad ones as well in the sense of how they come in and can completely destroy a club in the long run. So it was a bit scary in that sense. But once I had my initial chat with Rob, I felt really confident that he was, one, he was in it for the right reasons, but he was also a decent bloke, which was nice to hear. And then from there, yeah, I think the relationships just built up. Obviously, at the time, obviously we'll go on about my other role at another point, but I wasn't head of coaching either. So, obviously Rob was part of the team that interviewed for that, and I was successful in that role. So my relationship with Rob has been great, and I think he's doing a fantastic job in difficult circumstances. In the sense that, one, he lives obviously quite far away, but the second thing, we've been in COVID times, so he's not been able to get up as much as he can. So yeah, no, so far it's been great, and obviously having David Hughes at the club, obviously done fantastic work in the past, and working with Rob with the transition of the club moving forward has been obviously massively beneficial. So it's all been positive so far. So that's been great.
And Dave, then, more of a fan perspective, then, how did you feel about someone else coming into the club and trying to take it forward?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a shock, to be fair, because even though I wasn't involved in the first team, I've been involved like coaching in the academy for the last 2.5, 3 years. So obviously match days and that, you see David Hughes there and the work that he was doing, and if you go down there, any other time he was down there doing bits and pieces. So you think, oh well, he's happy, and he's going to be there for a while. But then this news comes through. But no, to be fair, with Rob coming in, he's been, and now me joining the first team, he's been, he's open to listen to any ideas that you want and moving the club forward. I just had a conversation at the beginning about the GPS vest and stuff like that. And he said, yeah, as long as it's going to help, he's willing to help, which makes our roles as coaches then easier than not having them. That
I usually ask how people felt before the first game of the season against Cardiff Met, but Dave, I'll ask, because you joined, was it after the Newtown game or slightly before the Newtown game?
Newtown was the first match day. I've been to a few training and that, because originally I was Josh was there, like I say, with son, so I got talking to Wolsey and stuff like that, and said that I do sports massage and stuff like that. So he said, well, go and have a chat with Ben, he said, and see if he needs a hand. So that was originally what I went in there then, was training nights when I was down there, was doing straps and rubs with Ben and helping out, and then talking to Wolsey then and stuff like that, and said that personal trainer, I do a lot of fitness and stuff like that, so brought me in then to help on that side as well then.
So how did you feel then before the Newtown game, your first kind of, obviously you've been involved in the club and a supporter of the club for a long time. How did it feel to be involved in an official capacity in the first team for the first time?
It's nerve-wracking, I'll be honest, because especially at this level, it's a high level, and with the boys that part of the coaching, especially like the fitness side, with Mark was doing it before, and Hicksy and stuff like that. Obviously, they've played at a high level, so they've got a bit more respect, I suppose, from the boys, because they've been there and done it. Where me, playing for Kilgetty and Saundersfoot seconds is probably don't rank very high in it. But no, it's a different thing. It's it's the fitness, so I'm quite confident when it comes to that side of it. But anyway, I was nerve-wracking, thinking, Christ, this is not like a Sunday League team. This is, a Welsh Prem side here, and there's a lot riding on it. But to be fair, the boys have been great. They're a great bunch of lads, and they welcome any of the new players that have come in since I've been there, and coaches and that. They've just welcomed them in, and you're part of the team, like part of the squad.
So, Mark, you've never been involved in the top flight of Welsh football before, and you're surrounded by quite a lot of people at the club who have a fair bit of experience in Welsh football, to say the least. First of all, what were your expectations going into the season? And then how did you kind of feel before the first game against Cardiff Met?
Yeah, expectations, I think we'd set, from the start, was we just want to basically remain a Cymru Premier side by the end of it. I'd never, as I say, I was obviously from England until 2 or 3 years ago now when we moved up here. So I never really knew much about the top flight of Welsh football, in the sense of how it's going to look, the standard, that type of thing. So it's always been a learning curve. I think for me, it's been a pleasure, really. I think the standard's really good. There's some great players streaming through the Cymru Premier League. It's really high competitive, and the fact that we're obviously not only doing pretty well, but I think probably many people didn't expect us to be in the position we are at the moment is obviously great to have. It's a great achievement so far. In regards to the Cardiff Met game, again, it just felt like a bit of a mixed feeling, because the first game was meant to be Druids, and we was all pumped up for that game. I remember arriving at the ground really early on Saturday morning, because I had some other bits that I needed to do as well. And I actually sent a photo saying, I think it was something like 6 hours until kick-off or something, because I got there so early because of other bits I needed to do. And then got a message about 5 minutes later saying that's off. It's just like, it was just gutting. So, to go to the Cardiff Met game, it was good. We got a point. A 0-0 would have taken that at the time against, an established Premier side, a good footballing team. Obviously, looking back now, there were opportunities maybe to win it, but at the time it was a very good point. But I think it was important that we just didn't lose it. I think it was important to get some points on the board straight away. and sort of build from that. And the fact we got another point then against Newtown, it just felt like we were starting to put points on the board early on. I've been there before where you lose 3 or 4 on the trot early on, and you're just always chasing that first win or that first point, and it becomes quite difficult, and people get a bit nervous. So it was just important to get that and move on to the next game, really.
So that was quite a while ago now, considering the lockdowns that we've been through. How do you think the team has coped this season then? Do you think we've overachieved? Obviously, you know the squad really well. A lot of people have been surprised by how well that we've done. Are you surprised by how well we've done, Mark?
Oh, it's a difficult one because I think if someone had said to me, would you take sixth at this point with 26 points? You'd have taken it at the start of the season 100%. As the season's developed, though, I've got to work with all the players more because obviously we've had an abundance of new players this season as well. And actually, no, I'm not that surprised because what they can do in training, what they show with their commitment levels. They're technically very good. They're good, honest lads. They work hard. And so it doesn't surprise me that we're pulling off results. It doesn't. Maybe okay, we didn't expect to be in this top six at this stage, but now we're there. It doesn't surprise me because we've got some exceptional players at our club. So, I think yes, we've probably overachieved in the eyes of everyone, but when you're working with them day in and day out, we went into the TNS game confident we could get something out of it. Yes, a win, okay, was brilliant, but we felt we could give them a game. It wasn't a surprise to us that we gave them a good game and that we won. For everyone else, it's probably the biggest shock for ages. For us, it wasn't. It was a great achievement, but we move on to Connors Key and we think we can get something out of Connors Key. We're growing confident as a team that we can beat anyone.
Dave, what about you? Do you think the team have coped well with promotion?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it just to look at the league, it shows how well they have coped, and yeah, it's like Mark said at the beginning of the season. That's you want to give it your best shot, but watching the boys train and their commitment, and I say it could have been a big excuse after this last lockdown to say, oh, do you know what? We half-heartedly, but the games apart from the ABBA game where they didn't play too bad, but compared to the other two games, it was below par performance. But that they could have just let that gradually sink in, but they haven't. They've bounced back, and it's not watch them train. Like you say, I don't think they are overachieving. I think it'd be unfair to say that because apart from it was a Nomads game, possibly Penabont was it? I think the only ones where we haven't been as competitive as we wanted to be. The rest of the games, the win, loss, and draws, we've been in it. So it hasn't been by luck by any means. It's dedication to the players and the coaching staff there that what we are where we are.
We've just come back from an extended period of no football at all. Dave, how does it feel to be back? How did you cope with the lack of football? And I'm assuming you'd be glad to get back last Saturday.
Yeah, it was. It meant I didn't have to do any more set any more runs for the boys, so I was very happy with that because I think they were getting sick of me. But it was great. You're privileged and you're very lucky because, I say, being involved in the academy, we're in the academy group chat. The boys are dying to get the boys back playing as well. So when you're getting yourself ready and going out and going training during the week, there's loads of coaches, players out there that are just dying to get back to it. So it was a big relief, but there's a bit of it. There's tinge there thinking, well, you are lucky, and there are a hell of a lot of other people that are not getting back to it. But yeah, it was nice to get back out, see the boys, see everybody, like the coaching staff and that, and just getting back in it. And I say, I think it's credit to how hard they did work in the lockdown, where they haven't been left behind with the restart. If anything, they've been ahead of it, especially against TNS. Professional. They train a lot more than us. They're in it. It's their full-time job, and it wasn't a lucky win on Saturday. It was well deserved and earned.
Mark, what about you? Glad to get back against Cardiff Met?
It was a long time coming, and as Dave said, to be fair, we should feel privileged that we are back because there's many people out there chomping at the bit, all over the UK to get back to football. But it felt amazing, to be fair. It has been busy, with my other role as well within the academy. There's been a lot going on with sort of lockdown stuff and programs, but nothing beats being out there, going out there and the banter with the players and doing the training. That's what I'm in it for. That's what we're in it for. Football is the relationships and the buzz that you get by trying to put on training sessions and build a team that can go out there and pull off a result. So now we're back to that. Then it just feels fantastic, to be honest. So hopefully everyone can get back to playing football soon, and we don't ever go back to anything like a lockdown again. Fingers crossed.
So we came back to football last week, and we've gone through quite a lot of emotions since. We had the really good win against Cardiff Met on the first game back, and then we came crashing down to a last minute goal conceded against Aber, and then a few days later we beat a professional side in TNS. So it's been very eventful in the last couple of weeks. So let's talk a little bit more about the TNS game then. Anyone in Welsh football will have seen it because we were live on telly. Let's talk a little bit, Mark, about the preparation that went before the game, because whatever the game plan was, it clearly worked, and we nullified TNS quite well. Tell us about the game plan and the preparation, and then how you kind of saw it. How quickly into the game did you think, yes, this is our game plan working, and we're doing well here?
Yeah, the obviously we had the Tuesday night game, and so obviously our lead up to the TNS was obviously when you have a midweek game, it is slightly disrupted. You have a less training session to maybe work on things ready for the Saturday, and obviously we had a last minute loss. So psychologically, we was just trying to make sure that in the lead up to the TNS game, it was not trying to overload them too much. We already knew what our game plan was going to be. The players knew that. Going through the key points of what we wanted them to achieve. We analysed the Aber game and went through bits that we felt that the reason we weren't as good against Aber as we was against Cardiff Met, and we identified those bits and really expressed that to the players. And there was a couple of bits, energy being one, and their sort of movement off the ball and how they worked out of possession just wasn't quite good enough against Aber, and we knew we needed to increase that against TNS. The actual sort of roles and responsibilities didn't change that much from the game before, so that was good. We didn't have to really reinvent the wheel. It was just getting those parts sort of right and getting their psychological aspect right of it, really, because we knew we could give them a game if they stuck to the game plan. We just needed to make sure that they wasn't feeling sorry for themselves for conceding a last minute goal. And even though we need to respect every team, I think there's a difference between showing respect and then being too fearful and going off of TNS. We wanted to press at the right time, in certain areas, and push up the pitch in the right occasions. And the players did it perfectly. To be honest, I know we scored, I've gone blank now, was it 13th, 14th minute, something like that, against TNS. But to be honest, after about probably the first 5, you could sense the energy was there. You could sense every time the ball was played and they were pressing up, played backwards, and we were pressing up into those positions. It felt right from that first 5 minutes. And then obviously when we got that first goal, we had an outstanding first half. And to be honest, it was a great 90 minutes. We deserved the win. It's not like it was a smash and grab. We created good opportunities. We could have scored more on the day, and I thought we was excellent.
Would you agree with that, Dave? Did you enjoy watching the game from the sidelines?
Yeah, well, I do in the red zone. I do like the ball retrieving. So if the ball, so I'm always pacing up and down as well, watching, because I'm registered partially sighted, so my eyesight is not very good. If it's all the way over there, it's a bit of an excuse for me to go up and down. So I'm constantly. I think I need a GPS tracker on me, because I think I do quite a few miles as well, to be fair. But I think it was deserved, to be fair. We had a game plan. The boys stuck to it, and some, to be fair. The numbers that they run this game, it was unbelievable. But yeah, they'd done everything right. They clicked, and like I say, coming out of Tuesday night, last minute defeat, that could have easily transpired, into a 4-5-0 defeat again on Saturday, but it didn't. They just, right, let's move on, go again, and yeah, that's all of it. I think it showed. I think we had about 4 or 5 different man of the match from Scorio, from press and stuff like that, and because it was any one of them could have got man of the match, and I think they all did. To be fair.
It doesn't get much easier going forward now as we're traveling to the league leaders on the weekend. I can imagine it'll be quite a physical battle. Dave, how do you prepare the players going into a game like Connors Key Nomads?
Just recover well from the game and prepare the best they can. We had a bit like this training session last night where the boys were obviously they're bouncing, talking about it again, but we had a bit of a get together at the beginning, reminisce, talked about it, took the mickey out of Kichi because he didn't do his hamstring on that on that run and that, but we just prepare now. Sorry, again, I think it's tomorrow night we're back in training, and obviously Mark and Wolsey will go more over the technicals, just looking after them, giving the boys rubs, getting them ready that way, and the best prepare the best they can. Then for Saturday, it's going to be a different challenge. I think, like you say, it's going to be more physical, more balls in the air. So yeah, the boys will be up for it for sure.
Without giving too much away, obviously, Mark, how are the boys preparing for Saturday, and what are your expectations from the game?
Yeah, I mean, they've been preparing well so far. As you say, we had a bit of a light session yesterday, just going through a few things, nothing too major. And then tomorrow we'll go really more in depth around the tactical and technical elements that we want to achieve for Saturday. It will be slightly different, obviously, than TNS, because Connors Key do slightly play differently. I think we know what to expect with Connors Key. They're really, really good at what they do. They're fantastic what they do. They get numbers in the box. The deliveries into the box can come from anywhere. They're not a one-trick pony. I think I've heard a couple of people before say, it's just sort of lumped. It's not really. They actually play it really well. They come in from the sides. They make sure that they're delivering balls from all sorts of different angles. They've got big, strong, powerful players that are going to try to attack the box. So we will be preparing tomorrow to make sure we're prepared for that, because that's what's going to happen. And I'm not going to give away how we're going to do that, but essentially there is things that we've already started talking about, how we're going to combat that type of onslaught. But then it's also about what we can do to affect Connors Key. When we played Connors Key before, we had an unbelievable opportunity just after half time. He probably won't like me bringing it up, but Palmer's had a free header to put us 2-1 ahead. We ended up losing 4-1. We lost our heads a little bit when the second and third goal went in. And it was a shame because I felt that we had given them a good game up to that point. And if we'd gone 2-1 up, I mean, it's all if, buts and maybes, but I do believe that we could have got something out of that. The game plan will be there, but I really do feel confident we can give them a really good game. But they are a different sort of animal, if you like, to TNS. And we'll have to prepare right for it. But they're top of the league for a reason. They won it last year for a reason. They're an exceptionally good team.
So looking forward to the future then. We'll start with you, Mark. What do you think the Bluebirds need to do to kind of take us on to that next level?
Yeah, I think we're already starting the process. It takes a bit of time. I think when I sort of advocated for, say, like more around analysis, for example, Rob was very keen and heard me out and said, "Yep, absolutely." It was brought in for the academy as well as the first team. But I analyse games after every game using our system, VO, and also the Instat system that we get through the Cymru Premier anyway. And that's been massive to pick up on bits that you won't see you can't see everything in a game through your eyes. So to review that back is fantastic, and I think that's been a massive element to how we're doing what we're doing. As Dave said earlier as well, when we've got the GPS systems in, another element that we can use to make sure players are playing to a high level and that our standards don't drop. So, behind the scenes and what we're doing on the training pitch and how we're just improving in lots of different ways around the club is already starting to happen. So that just needs to continue. In regards to the play-in, it's our job to make sure we're getting everything out of every player. And if a player comes available that can improve our starting 11 or squad, then obviously we're going to do it. You know, like Jazz Richards has just come up and he's came in and been fantastic, not only on the pitch but off the pitch, of course, for what he can bring. So that's obviously another route. And I think then as well, part of my other role, which we'll discuss on another podcast, but then is to make sure we've got more players coming through the ranks that can play, that are local. You know, I think that's what we want. We want players that are local to play for the Haverfordwest in the future. Haverfordwest to be regularly trying to compete for the league and playing in Europe. And I think we're on the right path. It's just going to take time to put everything right and continually trying to improve, review what we do, improve it, and then we'll get there.
Dave, would you agree with most of that?
Yeah. It's just keep doing what we're doing because it's working, you know. And you know, with Jazz coming in, it just shows, you know, he's not just going to jump into you know, some outfit that he hadn't looked into. So obviously he looked into it and thought, well, you know, he likes the way it's going, you know, and it is just let it, don't force it, let it come naturally, and it's coming on leaps and bounds every game on the pitch. You can see it, like, you know. So, and it's, you know, it's filtering through that. Working with Ben and the doc, you know, for me personally, it's huge. It's great. I'm learning so much from that side of it as well. So it's just just keep doing what we're doing, I think.
And then a little bit more personal. Dave, we'll start with you. Where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Well, to tie it in with your last one, sitting next to Devs. That's where I like to be, sitting next to Devs probably. But I won't be having a pint. I'll have a pint of squash. Set an example, maybe.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, well, still at Haverfordwest would be nice. You know, I love the club. I love living here, so there's no reason why I'd want to be anywhere else. And you know, like we're saying about improving, I was just think in 5 years' time, I think if we can do all of that, then obviously, hopefully, we're regularly competing at the top of the league for titles for European football. You know, I want the academy to be known and to be looked upon as one of the best in Wales. You know, or if not the best in Wales, and you know, that's my job to try to do that, and that's where I would like to be in 5 years. That would be great for Haverfordwest and for me personally as well as an achievement. So,
well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. That brings an end to this episode of the podcast. Thank you for watching and for listening, and thank you, gentlemen, for giving up your time.
No problem at all. Cheers, Jordan.
Yeah, mate.